Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I have a short demonstration prepared, so we're going to try to move quickly here. First of all, what I'm going to be making today is called an entremet. So for those of you who aren't familiar with an entremet, the history dates back to medieval times when an entremet was considered a small dish that was served in between servings. But now, today, entremet takes on a new meaning. And if you've ever seen pictures or gone to a nice patisserie, you may have seen these multi-layered pastries. They look almost like little works of art. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a pretty simple version of it. And with the summer coming, I thought that it would be nice to bring in the flavors of s'mores into creating this entremet. So graham crackers, chocolate, marshmallow. We're going to put something together that's going to look like a nice little package. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with is going to be actually the finishing touch of the entremet, and that is the marshmallow or the meringue topping. So I've got some egg whites and some sugar. And what I'm making is a Swiss meringue. And I have some water at a simmer here. And I'm just going to start whisking this. Keep in here. Okay, what I'm trying to do at this point is just to warm up the mixture. I'm trying to melt that sugar, get it dissolved. So what I want to do is heat this up to about 160 degrees. And at that point, the sugar will no longer be grainy. I'm not trying to add any volume at this point. Again, just heating it up. So meringue, just a combination of sugar and white, and there are different ways to prepare it. French meringue is just whipped whites and you add sugar. This, as I said, is Swiss meringue, where you're warming it over a water bath. And then Italian meringue is where you take a sugar syrup, heat it up to softball stage, and add it to whipped whites. So we're going to do this one because this is going to be a little more stable. So if you're going to be making any meringue pies this summer, this is a good recipe to use. And it's really easy to remember. So it's 2 parts sugar to 1 part white. And even after this is whipped up, you could put butter. You could add butter to this and it becomes Swiss meringue buttercream. All right, I'm just going to do a quick temperature check. All right, almost there. A little bit longer. Now, if you don't have a thermometer at home, what you can do is take a little bit between your fingers. If it feels hot to the touch and it doesn't feel grainy any longer, then you know it's ready. Okay, so I'm going to just touch it. Feels warm. Still feeling a little bit of those grains in there of sugar. Check it one more time. Almost done. And you can see too, it's starting to get a little bit more opaque. It started out kind of yellowish and translucent, and now it's warmed up. Warming up the egg whites is also going to help give it more volume when it whips up. Let's just do a quick check. So we're shooting for 160. That's going to make these whites food safe. We're good. I'll wipe off the bottom here. And I'm just going to put them in my mixer and let them whip up. They're going to increase in volume and cool down. All right. Okay. Is that too loud? Is that okay? So what we're going to do now, while that's whipping, I'm going to just show you how to assemble the entremet. So entremets are usually built in some sort of mold. larger ones, use a ring mold. Since we're doing individual ones, we're going to do a little mini ring mold. So I have at home some tart rings, and so I wanted something taller, so I actually put stacked three of them up to give me a taller ring. And then inside, I've got a piece of acetate. Okay, this is going to help me unmold this when everything is set. All right. So again, the flavors are chocolate, marshmallow, and graham cracker. So the components I have here, I have a chocolate sponge cake, and I baked it off. It's about a 1/4 inch high. I'm going to use a cutter that matches that and cut it out. Okay. So I have one already made. And if you can see here, I've put a little bit of chocolate on the bottom. So if you're preparing this for a party, having a little bit of chocolate will prevent them from sticking to your tray before you have to transfer it, say you're plating it up or you're putting it on another serving tray. Otherwise, the moisture from that cake is going to cause everything to stick. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the bottom of my mold. Okay. And then I made a graham streusel. It's basically the kind of crust that you're making for like a cheesecake or a graham cracker crust. It's got graham crackers, melted butter, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt. And what I did is I took the crumbs, put it on a sheet pan, flattened it out, baked it for about 18 minutes. Every 6 minutes or so, stirred it up and kind of flattened it out. And then this is what ends up. You have kind of like a crumbly streusel. This is going to be our crunchy component. So in terms of entremet, did I mention this? It's multi-layered, so you're getting contrasting textures. So you may get the texture from a cake, the texture of meringue, the crunch of a meringue, the creaminess of a pastry cream or a custard. So we're going to try to incorporate those into this today. So I have a little bit of that graham cracker crumble, and I don't want it to fall apart in my entremet. So what I'm going to do is take some melted chocolate, okay, and I'm going to add some melted chocolate to my graham cracker crumbs. And this is going to help hold it together, because once it chills, that chocolate's going to solidify and you're going to have a nice crunchy layer in your entree. All right, so once I've gotten everything pretty much covered, I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of this and layer it on top of the sponge cake. And then press it down. Not too hard to smash the cake, but just enough to create a nice even layer. All right. Okay. So our next layer is going to be the creamy part, and that is going to be what's called chocolate cremeux. So chocolate cremeux is a kind of custard. It's like a pudding, but not like a Jell-O pudding or a snack pack. This is way better, way richer, good quality chocolate, egg, cream. And I've got it here ready to go. So you can see it's got a nice creamy texture. I've warmed it up. And when it chills, it's going to solidify. And so I'm going to take some of that and put it into my mold. And you want to make sure that it is firm enough that it doesn't run out the bottom, but it's still thick enough that, or thin enough that when you give it a little shake, it evens everything out. So at this point, we would let this chill so that we have a nice firm Cremeux. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what this Swiss meringue has now turned into. It's still a little warm, but you can see that it's got a nice marshmallowy texture to it. Let's see how warm it is. Okay, and so I actually have some already in a piping bag, and I have one ready to go. All right, so what I'm going to do is unmold this. You can see I popped it out, and I'm going to pull the acetate from around the dessert, and there you have it. So now I'm going to get ready here. What do you love about marshmallows and s'mores? That toasted marshmallow, the color. So we're not going to use any little dinky little torch to do this. We're going to break out the big guns, and these are the kind of torches you're going to work with at school. You're not going to use those little tiny butane torches you find in the cookware store. You're going to use the hardware store big guns. So what I'm going to do now is pipe on top a little bit of marshmallow, and this can be whatever you decide you want to do. A little swirl. I'll take my torch, and you want to make sure that you just do the marshmallow part and not the cremeux, so you don't melt it. Okay. Depending on how toasty you like it, you can do that. Again, I did it on something food safe, or safe from the heat, so that your nice cutting board doesn't get damaged. And now we're going to plate it up. So here I have a plate. So the components for finishing this, I have a little bit of salted caramel sauce. I have a little more of that crumb. I've got some raspberries. I've got some whipped cream. Okay. Where did the spoon go? Okay. I lost my spoon. Here it is. I got it. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit in there for a second. All right, so I'm gonna I've got a pastry brush with some of the caramel sauce. I'm just gonna draw it across my plate. Okay. And then I have my dessert. So I'm gonna put the gloves on. So whenever I'm working with food that's ready to go, I usually try to put gloves on to make sure that it's food safe. Okay, put my okay, I'm going to use some of these crumbs to anchor my whipped cream. So if you were making a dessert and you were taking it, say, from the kitchen for service to the kitchen to the customer, you don't want your ice cream or your whipped cream sliding around. So we put a little bit of crumbs here on the side to anchor my whipped cream. Okay, now I've got my spoon ready to go. A little whipped cream. Got some raspberries. Okay, and we always want to make sure our plates are clean when we send them out to the customer. Okay, so we're going to do a little wipe. Make sure it's all ready to go. So I wish that you were here to taste this. Wish I could give you all spoons and we could all dig in, but I look forward to meeting you in the kitchens at Kendall very soon. And thank you very much for your time and attention today. And we'll get these recipes if you're interested in doing it, but I'll taste it for you, and my audience here will taste it for you. So have a good rest of the day, and again, good to see you. Oh, you want me to eat it? All right. Take a spoon. All right, should we cut in? So ideally, you want to take this out a little bit before so that it's not as tough as it is right now, but I'm going to cut through. Okay, a little bit of the crumble, whipped cream. I give myself an A.